Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Ninth Age Battle Report from Green Dragons Gaming. Without us, they wouldn't feel like winners. Without them, we couldn't look so good. So again, we're group based out of Westchester. If you're anywhere in basically Pennsylvania, Jersey, Mid Atlantic area, or the Northeast area, do me a favor, reach out to me. Love to try to get in contact with you, either get a game in with you, or since I do travel, or have you join our group. So that's it. I'm going to keep my intro short because that's something that you guys have always said as I talk too much. Um, Please know that at the end of this, I'm going to try to talk about some other tournaments after you see the game results. So, meanwhile, on to the main event. So I went over and was traveling. I was over in Brian's area, who's part of my group, and was able to get a game in. And he's got this beautiful, beautiful halfling army that he's been using as Empire. And this time he's like, I want them to be goblins. So these are the goblin halflings versus the kingdom. I don't have the army list up here. A couple different reasons. One is this may actually become my tournament list. I didn't think it was that good of a list, but so far it seems to be performing well. Um, and let's see. As for my opponent, I actually don't have his list, and it was his first time playing Orcs and Goblins. And I will say this is he had a blast. I had a blast using my list as well, and here it is. So we turned around. We did the old-fashioned way. We just threw down some random terrain, rolled to see what the deployment style and what the scenario was going to be. So it's going to be refuse, flank, hold center. So going for my own army, left to right, is I have my yeomen, I have my crossbows, I have my big bus of impact banners, Knights of the Realm, I have my 9 Grail Knights, my Duke is on a Hippogriff, I have a unit of 9 Aspirants, another unit of yeomen. My opponent, using Orcs and Goblins, has Wolf Rider going left to right, Wolf Riders, a big brother giant. He's got a big brick of forest goblins with spears. He's got another unit of goblins as a goblin bunker behind with his mage, his VSB, and his general. He's got another unit of 60 forest goblins, sword and board. He's got 2 other giants. The little round circular things are Mangler squigs. So he's done one Vanguard, I've done another Vanguard. Here's how it looks after both armies in Vanguard. Now, here's the one thing. KOE, it's a low model count army. When you have knights involved, especially, and I understand it's between the wars and everything else, but the way the praying works, where you have to give up all bonuses, and therefore the bonus to going first actually goes to your opponent. Oy, that's the one thing that still gets me with this. So I had a choice here to make. Do I pray or do I not pray? And because of how his deployment was with the Mangler Squids, and this is the first time playing this army, they have to go. Those things can just give me a bad, bad day. So I chose not to pray and wanted to go first. So there goes one Mangler Squid. There goes the other Mangler Squid. And all I can say is, peasants, they're meant to die. Um, Otherwise, as you saw, as he had moved up his one unit of riders, and he had wanted me to charge and either draw my forces up so he can countercharge, or go ahead and uh, yeah, no matter what, he wanted to draw me up. I chose to let his chaff be my chaff. The reason why is my lord is large. He can see over it. He doesn't have any artillery for me to worry about. I'm not worried about him picking me off with magic. And even my Knights of the Ground that I put behind, again, my Duke can see over, so he's not going to be in the way. they can see around him, and they can, depending on what he does, is I fully expect him either to move or do something with his chaff. So, not overly concerned. I also go ahead and pop out the Green Knight, which is not played by the Green Knight because I left him at home. It's just played by one of my other Knight models. And again, as I said, I was traveling. Um, so this is actually turn two. I forgot to take a pick during during his turn. So on the left hand side, he goes ahead and he chaffs me up with his Wolf Riders because he didn't want my brick of impact matters that could reroll charge distances for being up on the hill going into his big brother Knight. He wanted me to go into his spears because he wanted the spear bonus. I don't blame him because I've played that game multiple times and it can be really bad because spears would be straight 3. Granted, I didn't pray, but it's still AP2. So I'd have a 4-up, 6-up, and that's a lot of attacks because they're hoarded out spears. But my Duke could see him in the flank. My Knights of the Grail could see him, but I couldn't get him in there. And then I had the unit in the front. So I looked at this. I'm like, all right, well, if the big brother charges me in the flank, that's bad, but it's not the end of the world. But maybe I can turn around and chaff him up. And I took a risk here. The risk was I had the archers go ahead and charge the Wolf Riders first, which are played by the Chicken Riders here, in the hopes that he would flee. If not, I would roll high enough to be able to chaff him up so that he could not charge into my knights. As it stood, I ended up rolling a 9 after I won that combat, and that's how that looks. Now, between the Duke and my impact banners, and the way that my BSPs normally cat out is there was basically a rank and a half, so about less than 15 models out of 60 left in that unit afterwards. I had them break from the general or from the Knights of the Realm, and I then overran with everything. I wanted to try to get the Duke went into the Big Green Idol, which is played by the Turtle. Sorry, I did forget to mention that. And I put a wound on it using Master of Stone. And again, there's a picture of his army. So he will be working on painting some more of those halflings. And he just has done such a good job with them. As a matter of fact, we were just at Colonial Carnage for a team tournament, and he won Player's Choice or Best Painted Army by given out by Todd. So as I said, I mean that's his army, and I thought it was such a unique theme, being the halflings and everything else. Though apparently there's other halfling armies for players out here on the East Coast, and I will show pictures after this battle report. So, moving on, my Green Knight took care of his chaff, overran, failed to get in, but chaffed up his big brick there. So he decides to run into it with his 2 giants. I'm like, all right, well, there goes my my Green Knight. Now, this is the one thing that I realized afterwards when playing with the Green Knight is it is very important to pray with the Green Knight because when you pray, then it's +1 Aegis. Okay, so that means that he goes from a 6/5, okay, or just a 6 to a 6 to a 5/4. So I'm probably always going to end up praying whenever I have the Green Knight, but it depends on the opportunity. That's all I can say. Is the Green Knight it's just such a good model. Depends on my opponent that I have across from me. I mean, and even with a better Aegis save, I just played another game last night on Universal Battles. Green Knight got picked off by Bowfire. You know, luck is luck. You roll 3 1s, and you have to be roll enough dice. You're bound to roll the ones. All right, so that's that. He Ravenswinged his. He marched and then Ravenswinged his unit out of the crosshairs um, from my general in case I kill his big green idol. Over here during close combat, my Green Knight lives. As a matter of fact, I think I may have. Yeah, I lived and then I made my leadership check because I needed a 7. So what ended up happening was he's got the charge, flank, and 2 wounds, and a big flank. And I did 4 wounds. So I'm down by 1. I needed an 8. I make my leadership check. However, the following turn, I charge in there with my unit of aspirants, and I'm just going to go back a few picks. So I charge in with my unit of aspirants and not the Grail Knights. The reason why is I just couldn't somehow get the. I was trying to think of how to make it work, and I couldn't get the aspirants into the giant in the back. I wanted to, I just couldn't do it. And that's literally what ended up happening here. Because otherwise, I would have gone Green Knight into or the Grail Knights into the 1. The other, oh no, the Knight Aspirants into the 1 and the Grail Knights into the other. But what I ended up doing is sending the Grail Knights into the big green idol to help my Lord, because my Lord did do well. He put 4 wounds onto the big green idol, but it was still sitting there with 5 wounds total, or 5 wounds on it, and I just didn't like where my Lord was currently positioned, so I sent them in to help finish off the big green idol, and that was that. So going back to where we were, during that combat, he ends up killing the Green Knight, and I only do 1 more wound with the aspirants into the giant. But I did a bunch of wounds onto the other giant. Yeah, I did another 4 or 5 wounds. So the one giant there broke. The other giant is fine because he was no longer in combat. And that was that. Trying to, I believe there was something out there. I think there was a character out there that I turned around and because he had 2 of the squig hoppers, which are the guys on the little mini piggies, Pegasi. I believe I turned around and charged 1 and killed 1. He had killed my archers during his turn, and he wanted them like that just so he could see the field where he thought I would be, which again was one of the other reasons why I charged the knights into the big green idol, because I didn't want him calling out the war cry and then getting his big brother giant as well as the brick of sword and board goblins into my grails, because there's a lot of combat res involved. Although, as I look at, sorry, and here's this video pic here. As I look at this, that may not have been a bad choice. So again, the Knights of the Realm killed a character model and overran. The Duke and the Grails finished killing off the big green idol. The one giant fled, the other giant held. So during his turn, is he positioned himself to charge. He did charge the back of the Grails, hoping I would be unlucky. He charged the front of the Knight Aspirants that passed their terror check. And yeah, that's it. So over here, he killed 5, which left me with 1 rank, and as a monster, he has 1 rank. So I did my leadership test. I broke, and he ran me down. So that is how that unit now looks. The Grails did short work of the character, just plucking off 1 wound, and this is I this is his turn, as a matter of fact. So I had positioned my Duke. I think my Duke went into that, charged into that giant. No, he charged me. So that I positioned my Duke as such, and took the charge from the giant, and his no, I charged him. Absolutely, I charged him there. Um, Sorry about that. I need to start using a turn counter again. So I charged his giant there, and then would overrun into, after I kill his, make short work of his giant, overrun into his goblins. He ends up charging me. Yeah, That's why this picture has me confused. This has to be his turn. So I chaff him up with his giant, um, and he charges me with his big brother. Um, my Knights of the Realm are positioned as such, and that's that. So during close combat, I have up Stone Skin and Oaken Throne. He does one wound to that unit, I believe, where I did about 7 wounds back to him. I just rolled hot. Well, I'm hitting him on threes, and I'm wounding him on fives, and I rolled a lot of fives, and I just said, "Wow!" Did about 7 wounds. And then he swung at me, but because of Stone Skin and my Armor Ward, I was able to survive it. Over here, his giant broke without doing a single wound. I pursued and then ran into his unit there. During my turn, uh, because his other giant, his big brother giant, ended up breaking from that combat with the Grails, and I was perfectly set up. Everything went into that brick. As you can see, that's all he had left. And the two, I overrun with the 2 units, and looking back at it, probably should have overran with everything. Because then his bunker wouldn't have gotten away, and I'd be out of sight with from this giant with my lord. But he just would challenge out my lord. With that said, I instead chaff his giant, where he charges. He did rally his big brother giant that charges the rear of that unit. He ends up again killing about 5 knights, even with buff spells on it, and because he's got how many attacks there? That's 4, 7 plus 5. That's 12 attacks. And I think he may have had Bring the Pain up on that unit, so reroll misses. So he did a great job there. However, as you can see, he's got 7 wounds. He only had 1 wound left. I just did a single pluck and killed him, even though he did it. So he did do a number there. Um, and my Duke took 1 wound and killed the other giant in close combat. And that was it. So it ends up being a 17-3 victory for the kingdom. And here's who I have as my MVPs. It was that one giant big brother. It still it could, and I could have given it to one of the other giants, but basically it was the giants. Killing as many knights as what he did. It did not go well for the orcs and goblins, and again, part of that was first turn. You know, if I have a chance to take out those Mangler Squids, I have to take it, and he just didn't have enough strength other than those three monsters for me to truly care about who gets first turn and who doesn't, or for praying, I should say. And that's it. So, for those of you who don't want to listen to me ramble for a little bit, now's the time to go ahead and stop the video. I'm going to just talk briefly about some upcoming tournaments that I know of, and if those of you who watch, such as Jeff and let's see, Rob and a couple others who I don't know exactly the dates of your tournaments, please go ahead, jump on, and let me know, and either add it or PM me at SirMC2015 up on the forums, email, give a message here, a comment, whatever, and I will go ahead and I'll take care of it and try to promote tournaments coming up. So right now, North American Masters, we are already we've set a date. It's going to be Pro Bowl for 2020, and it is going to be somewhere in the Midwest this year because again we want to keep it rotating. We do include the state of Ohio because Ohio is just a special state as part of the Northwest, and it will be capped at. It looks like we're going to cap it again at 32 players. That may or may not change, but that's where we currently are. I am the chairman of it, so all I can say is just continue to go through normal channels. We have the website, we have a forum, and we'll go from there. So with that said, is we've got a bunch of tournaments that are leading into this. First off, we had Grail Quest, in which case Brett, I'm not sure he wants me to say his last name, so I'm not, won Grail Quest, which was going on at the same time as Masters. It will not be going on the same time as Masters this year. That's going to be getting held this year in December instead. But that was a qualifying tournament. Then we have then there was Colonial Carnage in February, but that was a team tournament to my knowledge. I do want to give a shout to Pete, Grungy Music, for winning a Red River Rumble, and GT, and he's a dwarf player, so I know he'll be attending Masters. That just went on. Then we have Corner Hammer. If you have a chance, Lenny and Jeremy put on a great event out in Chicago, which kind of mirrors Adepticon since we are no longer participating in Adepticon. But it goes on at the same time. It's you can drive over to where Adepticon is to see the vendors, and they do a really, really, really solid job. The only reason I'm not going is my wife is out of town and I'm on dad duty, and it's I would literally have to leave the morning of the tournament in order to get there on time, and I just can't do it. And I apologize for not being there. And Next year, I definitely will. So that's March. May, there's a tournament in Canada up in Ottawa. And when I get a link, I will go ahead and try to post it. John or Kieran, if you're listening to this, please go ahead and post a link for that down below. I believe Wicked GT is also going on in May. And that is Midwest around Kansas area. And that's it for May. June's a busy month now. So beginning of June, we have Brawlers, which is being run by Shannon Powell down in Atomic Empires in North Carolina. That is an awesome venue. It's a good event. It's actually it has been Carnage scoring previously at 5,000 points. He's reducing it down to 4,500 and going with the normal ninth age, but he's still going to have some special unique tournament rules to make it unique. It is the oldest tournament in the country going on right now. I've gone for it the last couple of years. The only reason I am not going to it this year is my friend who Ryan, aka Pretty Boy, is getting married. So those of you who know him, say congratulations. But it is his wedding, and unfortunately, he wins any day of the week. Friends and family will always win above gaming because gaming is to put me in contact with friends. The following week, there's another tournament up in North Jersey, which is being hosted by East Coast Warriors, but it's in Jersey, not New York. And again, it's a 2-day tournament. Definitely reach out to me. Unfortunately, my computer's not letting me flip screens because I'm doing this at the same time, and I'll try to post a link um, for that tournament as well. Then June 21st, 22nd or 22nd, 23rd, whatever, wherever that weekend is, there was it Buckeye Battles has changed from July to June this year, and that is over in Delaware, Ohio. Jeff puts on an awesome show. I look forward. I wish I could go. It's just the way everything is falling this year is I just can't. That is my own daughter's dance recital. So again, friends and family. But anyone who can go to Buckeyes, I would always recommend you go. It is an awesome. It is the largest that I know of out here in the states at 100 players, 100 plus players, and he does a masterful job. And I'll say this as a TO is I tend to mimic what he has done in order to make my tournament run. Okay, and obviously I can do a better job, and he is by far set the bar. So that's June. July, there's a team tournament in the middle of the state. I know Hogfest is in November. August is ETC, so August tends to be dry month for tournaments. Then September is Dragon's Den. I still have to sit down and talk with my wife as to which weekend it's going to be. I'm thinking it's going to be the weekend after Labor Day weekend because Labor Day weekend tends to be a big weekend for us to spend with our families. But we're going to check with my boss and find out. And then the month after that is going to be Mountain Mayhem, which is put on by Gene, which is Working from the Balcony, and that will be in Warrington, Virginia. And that is, again, another great event. November is Hogfest, which is put on by Jeff. And I believe that is going to have a different location this year. I believe that's actually going to be in or closer to Chicago this year. At some point, there's Michigan GT. I know I'm missing Michigan GT. I don't know when the zoo is out in California. I don't know when Skaven AZ is going to have his tournament out in Arizona. So I know I definitely am missing them, but the tournaments are quite plentiful there. And that's it. So if you do know of any tournaments, please post a link here below. And that is it. Now, I thought that Brian was the only halfling general in my area. So I went and met up with Cassidy, who's Raziel. I forget what else. It's Raziel something up on the forums to get a game in over at Titans Hobbies and Games, which was closed. So instead and that's in Baltimore. So instead we went to Glen Burnie to Games and Stuff. And actually, I really like that store. It was a very nice store. And lo and behold, here's another halfling armies, and these two gentlemen next to us are playing 8th edition. And they're like, oh yeah, we're just playing 8th. We got the rules, and we want to use our old models. And I'm like, well, we're playing 9th. And we started talking, so hopefully I've got 2 more new converts for 9th age. And there's, again, I just love models. He's using those as his fanatics. Everything here is a goblin, by the way. So goblin spears. He's using those as his skit launchers, but those are the old halfling hot pots. For those of us who remember those, I love his chefs. Those again, I don't know what type of goblins he was using for those, and he even had these spaces made, and you can make out who made them. And he's like, yeah, they're like the nice hard plastic, like the old template styles. And it's like, yeah, they're like $10, and had them order them Thursday. They're at my house like 2 days later. So I'm like, wow, that's fantastic. So overall, here's a picture of his entire army, and it's great. I love seeing another halfling army. So Brian, you have some competition. And the other thing I loved about his army is, oh, wrong way. Look at the flags. It's the toadstools from Mario Brothers. And let's see. I think that's the chefs. There's another pick with a that's with the black toadstool. That thing is so old. Where GW had put out like an actually halfling army, and whatever that was just became pushed by the boars. So he's using it as his pump wagon, um, or chariot. He's using it as a chariot. And those are the actually the orc goblin skewers. And finally, that is I believe is just one of his banners again. I just love seeing all the different color mushrooms on there. Shrooms, man, he's got shrooms. So that was it. Thank you for listening to me at the end. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please definitely go ahead and post, and we will respond as soon as possible. And until next time, happy gaming.